With two Gold and Black Live, Dave Shondell joins us, Purdue's volleyball coach. He needs no introduction, and he's always gracious enough. And Wendy Mayer, I should say.
Yes. The email address is different.
Yes, I know that. Sports information extraordinaire. And I don't know if are you guys practicing right now?
We're getting ready to.
God, and he's here. Now that doesn't.
That's the good and the bad part of it.
Yeah, I know. And I was going to say, that is not an indictment of his. It's really it's a indication of how much he wants to hang with us. No, this is as much of as focused a coach as you're going to find. But coach, a tough loss to Wisconsin, and you know after the match, I heard you talk about the fact that the Badgers, who went to the Final Four and knocked you guys out of going to the Final Four, really kicked it up a notch. And was it them being that good, or was it some things that you guys did?
I think it was more their level of play was extraordinary at times, and we certainly had some spurts where our game broke down, and you combine those two things, and they get a sweep. The first time we've been swept in a long time. So afterwards, I was really disappointed. I thought we had really laid an egg, and then you go back and you watch the tape, and you realize that weren't that bad. But we have to get better because we keep talking about what we're going to do as a volleyball program, and at some point in time, that talk gets real old. And again, that's not me. I mean, I obviously try to do some talking to get people to come watch us play and encourage our team, but the team is the one that decides where they want to go, and they have high expectations. But what's up on our board in our video room is high expectations demand tremendous responsibility, and that means that you have to play a whole match. And there have been some nights this year where we've had the really good teams, whether it be Penn State, Illinois, or Wisconsin, where, we've shown some signs of brilliance, but we haven't done it long enough. And now we have another opportunity as Minnesota, who, in terms of Minnesota, is struggling a little bit right now. Comes in here, but they're a team that we've had a tough time with over the course of time. So it'll be a big match for both teams.
Yeah. Some of the inconsistency youth-related, you've got an awful lot of talented players, but inexperienced ones.
I think people just, we certainly have some youth, but we also have plenty of experience.
Yeah.
We're putting 4 or 5 veteran players on the floor, but they're playing different roles. Val Nickel goes from being a setter and a hitter to where she's our only setter, most of the time, and that's new for her. Amanda Neal was a defensive specialist, did a great job last year, but now she's the libero. That's the defensive player that's on the floor all the time. She's doing great at that, okay, but it's new for her. Annie Drews goes from being just a regular player on the team to where she's the go-to player on our team, and there's some added pressure that goes along with that. And then we got obviously Danielle Catino, who is a freshman that is making great strides and getting better as Area Stahl in the same category. Those guys have to continue to play at a high level because as highly talented as they are, we've ran into some freshmen who have been much better than them on the court this season. So we've got to make sure those guys continue to move forward also.
Yeah, you look at it and you talk about the team and how for the untrained eye, they all look like they're giving unbelievable effort all the time. But what's the fine line between you say, and I'm not saying this occurred on Wednesday night against the Badgers, but what's the things that you can notice when you're not giving the effort that you need or not doing the little things right? What do you notice? For a fan, what would you notice if you're seeing that?
I think is the team playing well together. I thought that was the one thing I took away from that match with Wisconsin was you want to see a team play well together, watch Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, they have what in volleyball terms we call ballers. Same thing in basketball. These are guys, they know how to play the game. I think if we were to have a track meet, we might beat them in a track meet. We really have some exceptional athletes, some long, physical players, but they know how to play the game. And, so now you look at that and you think, okay, do we change the way that we're doing things because we just played Wisconsin, they beat us because they were better at this? Or do we continue to go with our philosophy, we're going to make great athletes into great volleyball players, and it may not happen as fast as we want. And so I think, we're going to stick right with it for a while. We're going to continue to do the things that we're doing. But we got to play better together. We got to execute game plans better. And when we make an adjustment at intermission, our players have to go out and then follow through with that. And that sometimes comes with just not being mature enough as a team yet. So, we know we've got some room to grow, but what a great team to grow with. Yeah. I mean, this is a team that I'm still very proud of. And you look at the 3 Big Ten losses, I already told you that the 3 top 10 ranked teams in the country and the 3 best teams in our league.
Yeah, and
it doesn't get any easier ever in the Big Ten, does it? I mean,
Well, I mean, in our league right now, you know, we got some wins early, and everybody thought those were easy. Well, Indiana has now resurfaced. You know, we knocked
And
them
they
down
beat
a little bit.
Minnesota.
They beat Northwestern and Minnesota back-to-back nights,
Yeah.
who are both probably NCAA tournament teams. And so, we, you know, but there are some nights that are going to be a little bit easier. But when you get ready to play them, you sure don't think so. It doesn't matter who it is, and when you get ready to play, you're sweating bullets. So, but this, you know, I'm lucky. I've got a talented team and a group that really is dedicated to becoming as good as they can be. It's just up to them to find out how far we can go.
Yeah, and you look at that and you say, how do you keep a team? You've had an ability, and maybe and you've addressed this. I know in times that I've heard you talk, and even on this show, about sometimes if you can get in the NCAA tournament, and then the fact that the first weekend you're not going to face Big Ten teams, that can be an advantage because this league is so difficult. Do you coach more for the opportunity to do the best in the tournament, or this year where it's possible Penn State may be vulnerable to not win the conference championship? Does that change your philosophy of coaching more for the now, or do you just?
No, I think it did this year. I mean, I think realistically, we felt like this was a year that the Big Ten championship was open. Penn State was not the juggernaut that they have been. I still think they've got a good chance to win it.
Yeah.
But I think that our players, again, focused on, let's do something in the Big Ten this year. You know, we have an opportunity to really, you know, make a run at this championship with our schedule in sorts. You know, our schedule was great because we were a green team and we played teams that we should beat early. And now all of a sudden we're running in all these teams that are competing for the championship, and they're just as hungry as we are, and they've just been a little bit better on 3 of the last 4 nights. So, but I think one of the other things that you look for, you know, ask me that question, is finishing games. And that's the one thing that we haven't done as well as we should have. You know, we're up 21-14 against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
We can't close the door. We have set point in 2 of the sets we lost at Illinois. We don't close the door. Same thing happened against Penn State. And again, sometimes that means the other team's just better than you, and sometimes it means you're just not ready yet. And so we have to keep pushing and get ready and see that leadership on our team, I think, step forward.
Sounds like a football team problem.
I think it's an athletic team in general. That's just, you know, that's just what teams are like.
But I'm saying this Purdue
With your
football
Purdue
team.
football
yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm pretty pleased with what's going
yeah,
on with
no
football,
question.
and I think that, you know, I heard your conversation about what does this game mean, and what I think you have to understand as a coach and a team is you don't let what the general sports fans and people that
absolutely
you
not.
hear from all the time dictate whether or not it's a good game or a bad game. I mean, I guarantee you Darrell Hayes on his team expect to win, and they'll be disappointed if they don't win. You know, whether you get beat by 50 or you get beat by 5 or you win by a field goal in the final seconds, you're still the same football team.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, it's the same group of people, the same coaches, and yet with the fans, it seems like it just fluctuates every week. Okay? Now it's a different football team, or now the coaches got a lot better or the coaches got a lot worse in 1 week. And of course, I'm a fan of teams and coaches, so I'm going to speak on their behalf. But
We need to get some volleyball message board stuff for you. Just kidding.
Yeah.
One of the things that always amazes me about the high caliber of kids you have, I mean, you have the top level students that are intellectually capable. Not that all student athletes aren't, but these are the highest of the high in my view. How do you convince? I mean, you can't. Do you motivate them by yelling at them? I know you're strategic in what you say and how, but how do you get them to go to the next level from not only from an effort but an execution standpoint? How do you get through to a group that knows the game well and tries to and probably in all likelihood is giving great effort in the classroom and is giving pretty good effort on the volleyball court? What's that intangible that you do?
That's a really good question. And this is the time of year where it gets tough because there are so many things that are going on. Keep in mind, we have 8 freshmen on our team.
And academics become.
And so now all of a sudden, you know, they're talking about final exams and they're preparing for those kind of things. We're getting into the meat of our schedule and there's starting to be pressure on our players to win that there wasn't, you know, before. And, you know, I think what I try to do is I try to put the ownership onto our players. It's not that we don't stop. We stop coaching. We continue to work every bit as hard as we can and give them the information that we can and continue to try to encourage and motivate. But I found that being negative and doing a lot of yelling doesn't do you a lot of good with women's athletics. There are times And
Yeah.
there are certain individuals
That you have
where
to.
you can deliver a lip sandwich to, and they're gonna respond to that. But you've got to teach. Everybody's different. They're all
Yeah.
different. But in general, they have to know that you're on their side. They don't want an enemy. They want you to be on their side, and I am, obviously. This is, it's one team. But they, at some point in time, Val Nickel, Kiki Jones, Annie Drews, Amanda Neal, those four and a couple others have to take over this team, and they have to be the ones that are going to lead this team to where we're going to go.
Val will tell people, her teammates, how it is sometimes.
Yeah, and
Right? She's got a little
it's
of that
funny
in her.
that it's really funny because all of them don't respond as well as you would hope to that also. That's
Yeah.
kind of a, if it was a men's, I'm not trying to make sexist comments here, but women and men respond differently
Yeah.
to competitive situations and how they're treated on a court. And so, Val, has to understand what makes each player click. And I had a meeting with her just yesterday. I said, you know what? I'd love to yell at everybody all the time. I get frustrated. I get stressed out. I'd love to be able to just unload on people whenever I want to. But that's not what is going to make them play at a high level. And you have to figure out with your teammates, who can respond to you, kicking them in the rear, and who's going to respond to you patting them on the back. And so, but it's a great point. It's a great observation. She is that way because she's the most fierce competitor we have on our team, and nobody wants to win. So on the other hand, our players have to recognize
Yeah.
that's why she's the way she is, and don't get your feelings hurt, okay, if she rips you, on national TV. Just
Which she's
understand.
done.
Yeah, just understand that she wants to win
Yeah.
and wants you to feel the same way about it.
But that could be a hard lesson for freshmen too. I mean, they're coming in. I mean, and they're all talented, and that's something they have to get used to. I mean, that is maybe the evolution of a season too, and that's maybe why your teams have tended to do very, very well down the stretch, and that's what's going to be an interesting to watch this year. The Big Ten, how many teams do you envision in the NCAA tournament? I know you're not ready quite to pencil yourselves in yet, but
Yeah, I'm just worried about one.
yeah, and
right
I
now.
get that, but more or less the league's as good as it's ever been.
Well, we have 14 teams, and the two new teams won't be
Yeah.
in, so not this year. I think you'll see Maryland climb the ladder
Yeah.
here pretty quick. I think they have the tools and the resources and the commitment from their administration to do that. Rutgers probably doesn't at this
Yeah.
point, just so you understand that part of it. 7 or 8
Yeah.
would seem like the easy answer for that. Penn State, Wisconsin, Illinois, Nebraska, those four traditionally are going to be in there. I'd like to think that ourselves, Michigan State, should get in. That gets you to 6. And then you've got Northwestern, Indiana, and Minnesota that could get in.
And Minnesota's been ranked for a lot of this year, not just went out of the rankings last week, but
Yeah,
this is a
for the
team
first
that's-
time in a long time,
Yeah,
6 years, I
yeah,
think they've been in the
it's-
top 25 until this past weekend.
So, I mean, there's like you said, you know full well that tomorrow night, 8:30 tip time also,
yeah.
that will be a different, little bit different time, but that's going to be a heck of a difficult match for you. And maybe mentally too, just to keep your team, they got to get over the hump.
I think our guys will be ready to play. I said that before the Wisconsin match, and I thought we would win that match, and we didn't, which was why I was so disappointed. But we did come out of the gate and play well. It's just that they just kind of beat us down a little bit. So Wisconsin was a really good team. Minnesota has got really good talent, but they're young and they're struggling. So I think whoever comes out early and establishes themselves in this particular match may have the upper hand.
Yeah. Toughest environment in the Big Ten? Where's the toughest place to go? And it may be a function of the team that you face, obviously. So you might just say Penn State, because it's really
I
good.
would say Penn State,
Yeah,
first of all, because it's really who you play. I don't think, even though there are tougher places to
does
play.
environment impact kids like you would think it does in basketball, maybe football, but does it not as much in volleyball?
I would say this, and I truly believe this, that your big-time athletes respond favorably to those environments. It doesn't matter whether you're at home or you're on the road. The big-timers are going to play at a high level in there. And, volleyball environments are similar to basketball. I mean, you're right on the floor, and I think that volleyball and basketball are both momentum sports, so it can swing. But I don't feel like there's places that we go into and we're intimidated. We got some of our best wins. Look at what we did last year. Went to Nebraska.
Yeah.
We were the first team to
Yeah.
win in the Devaney Center up there. We won at Michigan and Michigan State. Michigan is a really tough place
Yeah.
to go into. It's an old swimming pool
Yeah.
that they put a volleyball floor into, and they're normally very, very good. But we also went to Missouri first of the Big Ten tournament, of the NCAA tournament,
right.
and they were undefeated, and we beat them. And then we did the same thing at Illinois. So I think that you hope that your athletes that's a culture you create that you don't worry about where you're going
Yeah.
and playing. But the answer would be Penn State because they've traditionally been so overpowering that it's just hard to go in there and expect you're going to win.
Yeah. All right, the one question, the last question, because we allow to get you back to your real job, which is very, very important, and we don't want to stand in the way of that. But you're a great study of coaching and of coaches. I think I always enjoy our conversations off air as well. But what have you seen in football? And I know you haven't seen every practice, obviously, but what have you seen from a coaching schematic standpoint that you says, boy, this program is definitely headed in the right direction? What are some things that we might not have seen that you noticed just from watching?
I wish I could give you some real good insight, but because my season's going on
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
I
same
get
time
that.
as their season are.
It's a totally unfair question, but that's okay.
I'll watch plenty of painters
Yeah.
practices because
Okay.
I have a little bit of time, once our
All right, let
season's
me
over
we'll
to
throw
do
it
that.
to painters.
But,
Okay.
But I just, well, first of all, you've got an absolutely first-class guy running your program.
And Darryl,
in
yeah.
Darryl Hazel, and he demands a tremendous amount from not only his staff but his athletes. And it's a different regime. I mean, Danny Hope, nobody ever worked harder than Danny Hope. I've never seen anybody at Purdue University work harder than Danny Hope did when he was here.
Yeah.
You have to give him that. And but Hazel has come in, and he just has had a different approach. They're two different cats.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why their transition took so long, because Danny coached one way, and now Hazel's come in. His expectations have been, different, and it's taken, that extra time to get everybody on board because guys just do things different. The coaches are different. But I think Hazel's put a great staff together. There's some guys in there that are really working hard, and the players have really jumped on board, whether it's linebackers or defensive line, offensive line. And it's fun to talk to those coaches, just like any coaches that we have at Purdue. But regarding Painter, I think that's going to be the real story this year. I think that I'm not trying to put any pressure on my good friend Matt Painter, my Muncie boy.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a different team to watch.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. The character of those guys, they go out of their way to communicate with you and talk to you and just follow your team and support your team. And the Big Haas, I like to call him, the Big Haas. What a great character guy he is.
You're right in volleyball, too.
And he comes to all of our matches.
Yeah.
And so it'll be fun to see what Matt does to get both those big guys on the floor, and they compete hard in practice, and getting the guard to come in
John Ockles,
late
yeah,
in the fray.
Yeah.
Very late.
Was a real blessing, because I think that was the biggest question mark that Matt had, was how we're going to get the ball from here to here and then get into our offense.
Yeah.
And so now he's got 2 or 3 people that he can go to get that done. But I'm really looking forward to Matt's basketball season.
All right, well, we're looking forward to the rest of volleyball season as well as the Boilermakers continue. Tomorrow night, 8:30, Purdue, Minnesota. And if you can't be there in person, I know the match is on the Big Ten Network. Coach, thanks so much as
Thank you.
always. We
Appreciate
appreciate
it. Anytime.
We'll do it again,
Yeah.
and we wish you the best of luck, and we'll be watching you closely throughout the rest of this regular season and into the NCAA tournament. All right, we're going to take a 2-minute break and bring Bryant Newbert back. We have a few recruiting questions to answer, and we'll do that in the final segment of Gold and Black Live.